She's great.
Hey, welcome. My name's Rusty Martis. I'm a retired Air Force Mustang and an OEF veteran. And I want to welcome you tonight to Veterans in Bars Getting Bourbon. I hope you enjoy the show. Cheers.
Cheers.
So hey, welcome back. I'm here with my very special guest, Miss Jennifer Wells from Easter Seals. Welcome tonight, and
Thank you.
glad you're here. And we're going to get into a little bit about your military service, and we'll also talk about what you do at Easter Seals and the great work that you're doing there. But before we get started, we want to also welcome our bar. Welcome, bar.
We're here.
Now, you're probably wondering how we got these delicious, awesome-looking
Slushies.
bourbon slushies. So we're going to cut to that and let you see how we did it. During this part of the episode, what we always like to do is we highlight a specific bourbon for our particular guest. And tonight's guest, we have the wonderful Miss Jennifer Wells with Easter Seals, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But tonight, I chose, any guesses on the bourbon I chose for you?
I have no idea.
Yeah? Just name one bourbon.
Jim Beam?
Okay.
Ooh.
I chose Jim Beam.
Wow.
Yes. And the reason I chose Jim Beam is because this is a very steady and reliable bourbon. It gets the job done in an amazing way.
Thank you.
And it's, according to their website, the world leading seller of bourbon. Pretty neat, huh? All right, so you're a big bourbon fan, I know, right?
Sure.
So we made a special little concoction for you this evening. We'll put that there. I kind of prepped this a little bit already. Throw that on there. We'll put a little bit of bourbon to taste. Right? You want to do the honors of pouring the bourbon? Load that sucker up.
I don't want to die, so.
Oh, did I mention I already put in one bottle? Yeah. All right.
No.
So just a quick blend there on us.
Oh, wash it.
Just perfect. All right, good enough. Perfect. Look at that. Ain't that beautiful? I don't know if the camera can see that, but let's show them. Look how awesome that looks. All right. So I'm going to walk over here real quick, just because I'm going to make a little bit of a mess here. Get that right there for you. Pour that in there. How's that look?
Frosty.
Get two. There you go. There you go. That works.
And, two for me.
There you go. Share it with the bar. Perfect. All right. Let's give this a taste, because we'll need to have this for our conversation in just a few minutes, right? Yes. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
All right. So welcome back. We're here again with our special guest, Miss Jennifer Wells from Easter Seals. And I want to start the 10 questions with the first 5 questions, talking about your military service. So tell me, how did you end up choosing to join the Army?
I wanted to join when I was in high school, but my parents weren't very fond of the idea. And I got out, and basically I decided to do the Army because I wanted to do the Marines, but I didn't know if I would be able to survive it.
Oh, you would have.
Which now, looking back, I probably would have done that, but I didn't know if I had what it took, I guess. I underestimated myself. But my good friend Sarah actually was another reason why I decided to finally do it, because I waited a few years after high school, so then I finally made the jump and did it.
Okay. When do you care if I ask when that was?
Oh, I joined in 2005, October.
Okay, cool. And are you still serving?
No, I got out at the end of December 2014.
Okay, awesome. And what specialties, or what, I guess it's called the MOS in the Army, your specialty code of what you did as in the Army, what was that like?
I would see, so it's nuclear, biological, and chemical. Now they added radiological. Basically, we would be the first ones out if there was an NBC attack. We would be the first ones to come out and test it, make sure that it was safe. If not, then we would try to do cleanup, basically make the area safe again if possible.
Okay.
So.
And hopefully you never got to really experience that real world or real life.
No, not real world, but the training was awesome. So, because we got to do live nerve agent training, and that was amazing. It's the only place in the entire world that you can actually do that training, and actually diplomats and people from all over the world come to train there. So,
Where was that located at?
Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Oh wow! So
I
another
about said Fort
beautiful place.
McCoy, but no, it's Fort Leonard Wood. I've been to Fort McCoy a bunch, so that's why it was Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
And so you said live training. Are they actually throwing you in front of live agents? Is that what that means?
Well, like the live nerve agent, like they actually use a nerve agent and they put it on a little test thing,
Okay.
and then they give you the equipment and you test and make sure that it is in the environment. So you do wear your full mop gear, because honestly, if you were to take the gear off, you would pretty much die within 60 seconds.
Oh.
So it was live nerve agent, and they were very strict about our gear, making sure that we were everything was properly sealed, because you could
You
have died.
died?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like the gas chamber times death.
Yes.
So, because the gas chamber, where most of all military goes through that in summer. You like that, right? So, yeah, it's crazy. That's
Yeah, it was.
awesome.
It was really exciting.
Yeah. So during your military time, was there any particular medals or citations that you received that really stand out to you, and why were they standing out?
I don't know that I had necessarily a particular one, but I will say that getting the Iraqi medal, service medal, only because of the growth that I had when I was overseas. I went in, I was fresh out of high school, or a couple years. I wasn't really for sure where I was going in life. And going overseas, it really broadened my horizons, and the people I came in contact, it opened your eyes to the rest of the world. And I think having that experience young in life really taught me a lot about who I am, the people I served with, and just outside of your normal, what you think of in the U.S. You don't experience a lot of other things. We're kind of sheltered. So you go over there and you learn a lot about your limits, what you can do. You can do a lot more than what you think you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just learn how other people live and be thankful for what we have.
Well, it's amazing. You see what you have in the United States, and you go to a third world country. Iraq, I've never been to Iraq, so correct me if I'm wrong, but there's such limitations on what those people have, and they are just real people, and you get to experience part of their culture and see what they have, and you realize how grateful you are to be in the United States.
Yeah, a lot of them, they lived in tents, and they would take a bath in the canal that ran around our base, and they were happy. For the ones that I came into contact with, they would wave at us actually through the gate, which was kind of shocking when you first get over there. You don't really expect it, but yeah, they're bathing their sheep and bathing themselves in the canal. And in the United States, you would never think of doing that because the water's really dirty.
Right.
So it was a big shock, but they use what they have and they do what they can.
Absolutely. Where were you in Iraq?
I was in Balad, Iraq.
Okay. What year time frame?
I was there in 06, 07.
Okay.
So
Craziness going on?
they called it Mortaritaville, so we got a lot of mortars, but I don't want to say you get used to it, but they
You do.
happen often. So
You get to the point where you get
Yeah.
used to it.
I got to travel to some of the other bases with the supply team, because I kind of did a bunch of different things when I was over there, because before we went, I got our unit ready with all their NBC gear, their mop gear. We had about 360 soldiers from all over the United States. So once we got there, my job was in a sense sort of done, so I kind of did different things all over. So.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that earlier about the diversity, so you get kind of thrown into with everybody. It's not just your unit, but it's all units and from all over the country and all over the world, really.
Yeah, you learn a lot about other people in general just from within the United States. So it was really exciting. We had people from Louisiana, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, and all over the place. So it was really neat to be able to meet those people.
That's cool. That's very cool. So what do you think, what were your 3 biggest takeaways from your military time?
I would say one is don't judge people.
Mm.
Coming from a small town, I mean, my parents always raised me to, not be that way, but I saw other people do it. And when you're thrown into an environment with a bunch of different people you've never met, you have to kind of look at everybody with a clean slate and get to know them and not necessarily judge them based off of one thing or another, and kind of look behind some of their actions. I kind of learned that you have to listen, always be there willing to listen to other people and their story.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get caught up in talking about ourselves and you don't really realize you're doing it, but a lot of times if you just listen, you learn a lot about people and their actions and how they live their life. And to me, that's how I learn a lot about other people, is just by listening.
Okay.
So,
Well, we'll talk about this in the second half of the 10 questions, or the second 5, but that probably kind of helps you tremendously in the job that you do now, I'm sure.
Yes.
Absolutely. So how did your military experience kind of affect your life today?
let's see. I mean, it's affected everything about my life.
Mhm.
There were things that happened during my tour that definitely reshaped how I thought, how I felt about everything. But I will say the things that occurred during my time in the military and during my deployment really changed the way I thought about life in general. You realize how fortunate we are. But I've also taken my experience, and it's helped me become, I guess, maybe a better leader, helped me to better help other people. When I was in the military, I helped soldiers. I worked in the unit. I did HR as well, human resources, and assisted all the soldiers within our unit. I was in a PSYOP battalion, so we would travel out to the other units, and just being put in that position, I learned so many different things. You learn to be adaptable, to be flexible, to be able to go out there at a minute's notice, and to always be prepared. So, which I've always done that. I'm kind of the mom of the group, so I always have 2 or 3 of everything. So
Yeah, you're a mom now too,
Yes,
right?
that's very true.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate that. I think we're going to take a quick break, and we'll refresh our drinks here, and we'll fill that suckers up. And while we're doing that, we always like in every episode to highlight several of the North Kentucky local talents. So please enjoy this local talent here tonight. Thank you.
want to see my talent?
Roll with me all over America.
All right, so to start the organizational questions out, I'm just curious if you can tell me a little about Easter Seals and what you do for our local military veterans and their family members.
At Easter Seals, we cover 3 different services. One is employment, so we assist family members, veterans, military, it doesn't matter where they're at in their career. We assist them and their families with employment, help them with their resumes, connect them with other employers. So we do a overall assessment and try to identify their barriers and help them through that and overcome them so that they can find full-time employment or part-time if they choose to do so, and so they can be successful. And then we have education. We can assist them if they come through Voc Rehab. They get referred to us and we help them as they go through their courses and help them transition to finding a college or a university to attend. And we actually still have some of the guys that come through our program still come back and use our computers and work on their homework, and we help them. And then we do Community One Source or emergency services, which is what I do. So basically any military member, veteran, or family member, it doesn't matter the type of discharge, how long they were in, or anything, they can call. They call either 211 through United Way, or they can call 878-2200, and that call will come directly to me. And whatever their need is at that time. Sometimes we get emergency needs, sometimes we don't. We're kind of trying to assist veterans with anything they need. We have done anything from a veteran that's called in that's been suicidal to someone who needs help with their benefits, who needs help with utilities, rent. Sometimes we do have to outsource them, but most of the time we try to take care of things in-house. It just depends what the situation is. So
That's very interesting. Actually, there's a couple of things in there I got questions on. First, you mentioned Voc Rehab. Just for the audience, can you explain a little bit about what Voc Rehab actually is?
Voc Rehab is a type of an educational benefit that veterans can utilize. Usually they can apply online if they go to the VA website and go to eBenefits. Then they usually go downtown and they'll take a test and it'll assess them on what their interests are. Usually it depends on if they have a typical learning disability, if they have a hard time. It could be as simple as focusing or anything along those lines. But a lot of it has to do with if they're doing a job that doesn't necessarily isn't what they're desired to do, because you take a test and it goes over what your skills are, what kind of job you should be doing. And if that job if what you're doing doesn't align with that, usually you can try to go to a technical school or something like that to get a skill in order to get a new job.
Awesome. And the other really big one is, I think most people, when they hear Easter Seals, they don't think veterans. So it's kind of cool that they have a veteran portion of Easter Seals. So that's awesome that you have all that. And you talked about, you do employment, you do Voc Rehab or educational piece, and then also the emergency kind of assistance piece as well. So if you got an angel donor that's hopefully watching tonight, and they have $1 million just sitting in their bank account, and they want to give it to you, what could you do with that money?
Throughout all of the needs that have come in, we've found a lot of veterans need transportation. That's actually a massive thing that has come across. Veterans, a lot of them want to work, but they just don't have the means to get to work. We've given bikes out to guys just so that they can ride their bike to school or to a job. Some of them will take the bus. And you have to understand the bus doesn't always run everywhere. Yeah. But I would say one thing would be transportation for those who are finding gainful employment. But overall, to me, I would like to have a transitional site, because when you come out of the military, and you don't necessarily have to have come just out of the military, but usually the military discharges you and you're kind of left with nothing. And I can't tell you how many military families have called, and the husband or wife just got off active duty and they're struggling to deal with normal life. and you don't realize how big of a change it is until it happens.
Right.
And as you out process, they give you all this paperwork and they do all this stuff, but it's usually in a shortened time frame, and at the time you're more interested in getting back out and getting back to normal life.
Right.
But what you don't understand is normal life really isn't normal anymore.
Right.
So creating a more of a transition piece to it, to where it's more prevention rather than to when it gets to the emergency needs side. So if we could create a program where actually veterans and their families had a place to live, a safe place, they could get education, they could get counseling, child care. You think of all the aspects that is involved in a person's normal daily life.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that has been taken care of, especially
Yeah.
for the active duty soldiers.
Yeah.
By having something that's all inclusive, to where you can really make sure that you have their attention, that they're getting paid at the same time, but also giving back, working, having some kind of employment, and also finding a way that they can find their own purpose, because that's a big thing. A lot of veterans
Yeah.
want to know, they want to find a purpose. They don't really know what to do or where to go, but helping them achieve what their purpose is, their new purpose in life.
Yeah, and I talk about that on the show all the time, is purpose and passion. You have that in the military. You have the mission. And when you get out and you're a civilian, you're, okay, I used to be a civilian, but what do I do now? Because now where's my purpose and my passion? So helping them get to that, that's just really amazing. So I appreciate that. Tell me, or tell the audience a little bit about how they can reach you at your organization.
If a veteran or their family member would like to get a hold of Easter Seals, they can call 878-2200. That's the easiest way to get a hold of someone. Usually that call will come to me, and then I can usually disperse it to whoever they need to speak with. But usually everyone, we try to have them come through Community One Source, and I can assess their needs. And then, because sometimes a lot of them that come through, they don't realize of the other things that we can assist with.
Right.
So usually when they call, I will tell them, hey, these are the other things that we offer. So
Well, like I mentioned earlier, you think Easter Seals, you don't necessarily think Veteran Services. So it's great to get the word out that you have a whole department that handles, education. You handle employment, and you can handle the emergency assistance needs as well. So that's awesome. Have you come across anybody in kind of the Northern Kentucky sphere or the realm that I need to have on the show to get the information out? Who would that be?
they're not necessarily Northern Kentucky, but they do service the area. It's the Cincinnati Police Department. The reason why I say that is the past few days we had a veteran that was suicidal, and I called one of the Cincinnati Police Department because they have a group of veterans. Dave Corlett kind of runs that, and they went and got the vet, took him to the VA, and actually talking with them, they actually said that they have people from the Kentucky VA call them and ask them to go out and speak to veterans. So they don't cover just Cincinnati, but they kind of cover the tri-state area. There's no one that they would ever turn down. I think there's a lot to learn from them, and a lot of resources don't even know that they do that.
Right.
They don't even realize that there are veteran police officers who will go out and just talk with the veteran. And a lot of people might think that it would come across as threatening, but actually I found that they feel more safe.
Yeah.
So I would say Cincinnati Police Department.
Well, that's very interesting you say that, because you're right. We're kind of focused on North Kentucky for these episodes, but I know Dave Corlett, and he's amazing guy.
He does everything.
He does, and he's a veteran as well, retired police officer now, and he has helped me personally deal with some very difficult situations in my job as well. And I didn't realize that he came into North Kentucky as well. I know he was doing some training in North Kentucky, so that's awesome. That's a great resource.
Just a few days ago that they actually do that. So.
Yeah, and their service is amazing. They do an amazing job, and I absolutely will reach out to him and see if I can't get him on the show to talk a little bit about what he does for that. So that's great. So last question. is there anything that I haven't asked you or that we haven't talked about that you just want to make sure the audience is aware of and know about?
I just want veterans and their family members to know that they can call for any reason. A lot of times you feel like you have to be in crisis to call, but a lot of times we would like to prevent that. I know we focus some on emergency resources or needs, but we're really here to help in any way that we can. So
Right.
when they call the number, the 878-2200, that actually comes to my phone. So if anybody needs anything, and I recently had a girlfriend call for her fiance that's a veteran and said, who should we call? He's having a rough time, and I don't want anyone to feel like they can't call for
Right.
any reason. It doesn't matter what the question is. Just know that there is a community out here and that we are willing to help. You just have to call and ask.
That's amazing. And if you call that number, repeat that number one more time for me. It's
513-878-2200.
right. And even though as a Cincinnati number, you do support Northern Kentucky veterans,
Correct.
military, and their family members as well. And it goes directly to your cell phone,
Yes.
which is amazing. So that's an awesome service. So please, if you need any of those services, if it deals with education, if it's employment, or any emergency assistance needs, that you get in touch with Jennifer, call on that number. We'll get her in touch with her directly. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for being
Thank
a
you.
part of us. Thank you very much for being here tonight. If you want to learn more about what's going on in Northern Kentucky or in the greater Cincinnati area, to check out our website, www.tristatevca, that's Victor Charlie Alpha.org, or you can find us on Facebook at the Northern Kentucky Military Veteran Coalition, or call us in our office at 1-844-600-TVCA. Once again, that's 1-844-600-TVCA. Cheers.
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 Cheers.